Hi, I'm Ed Tay McGlasson with Blessing of the Father Ministries. And today, I have a great treat for you today in an interview with one of my best friends, Brian Holloway. We're going to be connecting to him on Skype video. Brian is a Stanford grad, All-American there. He went on the NFL as an offensive left tackle with the world champion New England Patriots, who are getting ready to play football this weekend. He was five-time NFL All-Pro. That's quite an accomplishment. Brian graduated with a business degree and then helped the NFL develop their first gigantic TV package. Can you believe it? It was over $18 billion. Brian was a big part of the architect of that. And not only did he have all these accomplishments in football and corporate building and the things he does, one of his incredible claim to fame is that he's an amazing father. He's one of the best fathers I know. Matter of fact, he's been my friend for 40 years. I could say my best friend. And you'll notice even during our interview, his grandson is going to pop into our interview. So let's welcome Brian Holloway via Skype from his home in Florida. It's so great to be with you, Brian.
It's hard to believe that we're closing in on 40 years now.
Yeah, 40 years. I remember the day we met. You know that day we were racing one another and doing sprints at Churchill High School.
Yeah, and that was very exciting for me because I'd never seen someone as big as me be able to move as well. And little did we know that we became perfect mentors and perfect iron sharpening iron.
Boy, that's true.
And that it would be something that would last us our lifetime and impact our children and all those around us. That's just amazing how God has lined that up.
Well, man, it's been a joy to watch how God is used you in your community down there in Florida and really all over the world with your gift to motivate and encourage people. Here's my first question for you today. And you've watched me and the Blessing of the Father Ministries. How has understanding the Blessing of the Father message really affected you in your story as a father?
Well, I think it's so important to hear and to listen to the strength and power and freedom and liberty that is in that message of the Blessing of the Father. And what it allows you to do is allows you to no longer have to do all the heavy lifting, nor look to the future with such great weight, knowing that you have the blessing of the Father upon your life. And so what it requires you to do is actually, in some ways, take your hands off and allow God to drive, because he has infinite power, infinite reach, and infinite plan that will not, does not, cannot fail.
Yeah, boy, that's so true, Brian. And so, did it help you with your own story with your dad? Just, forgive him and just kind of even build a relationship with your dad while he was around?
Well, I think what it did, it gave me a greater breadth of understanding and compassion and reconciliation. He was a learned man. He was a great officer in the military. He was asked and was responsible for some of the most classified missions in this country, and that's taken on an awful lot at a young age.
No kidding.
But I think the thing that was most impressive was his ability to continue setting an example of excellence for the family in the midst of coming out of horrific circumstances, having like all military veterans experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's it does take a toll, and it affects them as fathers too, because there's not a whole lot left coming home after you're serving a country, is there?
Yeah, no, there's in some ways there's part of them that is shut down,
Hmm.
and for some it seems that they have to in order to move forward. And then what I also noticed was that the further he got away from the military wartime experience,
Mm.
I saw him being able to reach out and experience more of being a father. So that was very noticeable. So my brother and sister literally had a much different father experience that I had. And so you could look at your experience and you could see what's, quote, wrong with it, or you could look at the experience and see the things that did not work for you, and in fact make you even more committed that you would make sure that those things work for you when you're a dad.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that I was able to, through the hand of God, to have that distinction. And he sure set the model for us as to how we need to be, must be, because he's going to have us go into the battlefields.
Mm.
And yet we go in with his great protection of armor and the sword of truth.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of the principle that I write about in my new book is that when I let God be my father ultimately, then I have all that it takes to be a father to my kids. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. And what it does, it gives you a wisdom instantly. I mean, it's not like these gifts come forth, slowly. They instantly arrive in moments when you need them and call on them. And what's powerful for me is to be able to be a father to them, to be sensitive to them, be vulnerable to them, yet also be directive to them so that they know that I am leading the way and I will take the blunt of what life throws at you such that they don't have to get hit straight on with it.
Mm.
And that's part of, I believe, the responsibility. You know how you see a boat, and as the boat is traveling in the water, it creates a widening wake, which is sort of a shield. And that's what I see myself doing. And there's another example of the young children that are following their father in the deep snow, and they're walking in his footsteps.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
So that's a profound image that has been such a significant part of my journey.
That's awesome. So in other words, you can only kind of lead your kids where you're really willing to go yourself as a man.
Well, absolutely, of course. And willing to be able to listen to the hand and voice of God and be able to sit there and radically change and alter what you believed what would be the right thing to do.
Mm.
And yet God will call you and God will move you in a way that calls you into a completely different direction.
Mm.
And little did you know, as you head down that road, that's the direction that you really needed to go.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
hey, if you had advice for young dads today, what would be the first thing you'd tell them to do? I see one of your grandkids coming up behind you there.
The first thing to do is I tell them the greatest thing in the world is having a grandson named Isaiah.
You get the father all over again.
And he gets to be the big brother that takes care of who? Who do you take care of?
Eli.
Eli. And so he gets to take care of Eli, and sometimes he has to take care of who?
Yeah.
Sometimes he has to take care of Pop.